The story begins far from the frozen ruins of Stalingrad, in the warmth of southern Italy in 1942. A group of young German soldiers are stationed there, enjoying a rare moment of comfort during the war. The sun is bright, food is available, wine flows freely, and the men still carry the belief that Germany is winning. War, for them, feels controlled and distant. They joke, argue, flirt with local women, and dream of medals, promotions, and returning home as heroes. Among them are Lieutenant Hans von Witzland, an idealistic officer who still believes in duty and honor, Sergeant Rollo, a hardened but loyal soldier, and several others who represent different attitudes toward the war, from blind loyalty to quiet doubt. Despite the laughter and relaxed atmosphere, small cracks are already visible. Some soldiers speak openly about exhaustion and meaningless orders. Others drink heavily to forget what they have already seen on the front lines. Yet Italy feels like a reward posting, a pause before victory. None of them truly understand what lies ahead. The illusion shatters when sudden orders arrive. Their unit is to be transferred immediately to the Eastern Front. The destination is Stalingrad. The name alone creates unease. Rumors spread quickly. Everyone has heard stories about brutal fighting, endless Soviet resistance, and extreme cold. Still, the officers assure the men that Stalingrad will fall soon, that this is simply the final push needed to break the Soviet Union. The journey east feels like a slow descent into another world. The further they travel, the colder and darker everything becomes. The landscapes grow empty and lifeless. Burned villages line the railway tracks. Refugees wander through the snow with hollow eyes. The men stop joking. Silence replaces confidence. When they finally arrive near Stalingrad, the reality is worse than anything they imagined. The city is not a battlefield in the traditional sense. It is a graveyard. Entire districts have been The fighting grows more desperate with each passing day. What once felt like organized combat now resembles chaos without shape or rhythm. The soldiers no longer know where the front line is, because it shifts constantly, sometimes within the same building. A room that is safe in the morning becomes a killing zone by evening. The city itself feels alive and hostile, swallowing men without warning. Cold becomes a greater enemy than bullets. Temperatures drop far below freezing, and the men are ill-equipped to survive it. Boots split open, coats tear, gloves disappear. Frostbite spreads quickly. Fingers turn black and numb. Some soldiers are forced to keep fighting while their feet slowly die inside their boots. Medical supplies are almost gone, and doctors must choose who is worth saving and who is not. Food shortages worsen. Rations are reduced again and again until meals become symbolic rather than sustaining. Bread is frozen solid and shared in tiny pieces. Soup is mostly water. Hunger drains strength and sharpens tempers. Arguments break out over scraps. Men begin stealing from the dead, removing boots, coats, even half-eaten food from frozen corpses without hesitation or shame. Lieutenant von Witzland receives orders that make no sense. He is told to advance across open ground under heavy Soviet fire to capture ruins that hold no strategic value. He protests, but his objections are ignored. High command demands obedience, not results. The idea of honor still lingers in his mind, but reality crushes it with every unnecessary death. Sergeant Rollo increasingly takes control on the ground. He ignores reckless commands when possible, choosing survival over medals. He teaches the younger soldiers how to move quietly, how to listen for enemy footsteps, how to sense danger before it appears. But even experience offers little protection in Stalingrad. The Soviet soldiers fight with relentless determination. They appear endlessly, replacing fallen comrades without hesitation. The final phase of the battle begins not with a single dramatic moment, but with a slow, crushing realization. The German Sixth Army is completely surrounded. There will be no breakout, no rescue, no miracle. The soldiers hear it in broken radio messages, see it in the empty skies, and feel it in the absence of food, ammunition, and hope. What remains is not an army, but scattered groups of starving men clinging to ruined buildings. Command structures collapse almost entirely. Orders still come, but they are meaningless. Men are told to hold positions that no longer exist, to defend piles of rubble that provide no cover and no purpose. Officers who once enforced discipline now struggle to keep themselves alive. Rank loses its meaning when survival is the only priority. Hunger becomes unbearable. Soldiers are skeletal, their faces sunken, their movements slow and weak. Many can barely stand. Some fall while walking and are unable to get back up. Starvation dulls fear and pain, replacing them with exhaustion and apathy. Men stop reacting to shelling unless it is dangerously close. The cold reaches its most deadly stage. Frostbite turns into gangrene. Wounds rot. Infection spreads. There are no medicines, no bandages, no proper shelter. The wounded are no longer treated. They are left where they fall, wrapped in thin blankets if anything is available. Death becomes routine, almost gentle compared to the constant suffering. Sergeant Rollo continues to guide the remaining men through instinct and experience, but even he cannot fight nature, hunger, and overwhelming enemy forces. His confidence fades as he realizes there are no good choices left. Every decision leads to loss. Lieutenant von Witzland is forced to confront the full collapse of everything he believed in. Honor, obedience, and loyalty have brought nothing but destruction. He sees soldiers shot by their own officers for attempting to surrender, even as the situation becomes completely hopeless. The idea of sack. The end arrives quietly, without heroism or triumph. The last German resistance in Stalingrad is reduced to isolated pockets of men hiding in cellars and shattered buildings. There are no clear orders anymore, only scattered commands to hold on, to fight to the last bullet, to never surrender. These words mean nothing to soldiers who can barely lift their weapons. Lieutenant von Witzland and the few remaining men move through the ruins like shadows. Their uniforms hang loosely on their bodies, their faces hollow and unrecognizable. Hunger has erased their strength, and cold has numbed their emotions. They no longer react to explosions unless they are close enough to kill. Soviet forces advance steadily, not with rage, but with certainty. They clear the city section by section, calling on Germans to surrender. Some soldiers drop their weapons immediately, collapsing into the snow. Others hesitate, torn between fear, pride, and exhaustion. A few choose to fight, but their resistance is brief and futile. Von Witzland reaches a breaking point. He understands fully that the war has stripped him of everything he believed in. The values drilled into him have led only to pointless death. He is no longer thinking as an officer, but as a human being facing the end of his life. When he is confronted by Soviet soldiers, he does not resist. He lowers his weapon, knowing the battle is over. Not all soldiers make the same choice. Some die in final, senseless acts of defiance. Others collapse from weakness before surrendering. A few are killed simply because they are too slow, too confused, or too broken to follow commands. Death in these final moments feels random, stripped of meaning. Those who surrender are herded together, barely conscious, and marched away under guard. Many cannot keep up. They fall into the snow and are left behind. The long march into captivity begins, though few understand what it truly means. Survival no longer depends on fighting, but on enduring hunger.